What's up, ladies and gentlemen? In this video, I want to talk about the Kia EV6 lease deal because, in my opinion, it's one of the best lease deals in the country. Now, last week, I covered the lease deal on the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and this lease deal is very similar to that one. It's just an incredible lease deal, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, in the first part of this video, we'll go over the fine print of this lease deal, and I'll talk about things like the residual value, the buyout amount, how many years are allowed in this lease, and I'll give you other helpful tips and tricks along the way. And then in the second part of this video, we'll talk about my 1.25% rule of leasing, which pretty much means that the monthly payment with $0 down should not exceed 1.25% of the MSRP. And ladies and gentlemen, this lease deal definitely meets that 1.25% rule or threshold. And before we continue, if you could like this video or give me a follow or subscribe to my channel, it would be greatly appreciated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the Kia website, and as you can see, all of the EV6 specials are listed on this page. And I just want to let you guys know that all of these lease specials, like this one right here and these two here, are all great lease values, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to be focusing on this one. It's a 2024 EV6 light long-range all-wheel drive. It can currently be leased for $329 a month for 36 months. But if you live in Texas or maybe somewhere in Southern California and you don't need the all-wheel drive, the rear-wheel drive models are also a great value. But let's go ahead and analyze this lease deal like you should analyze any lease deal by reading the fine print. All right, so here's the fine print. You can lease this vehicle, as I mentioned, for $329 a month. It's a 36-month lease, but you can also get a 24-month lease should you choose to do so. There is a total of $4,499 due at signing. And this lease deal includes the $7,500 EV lease bonus, also known as the EV tax credit. And ladies and gentlemen, fun fact here is that you will not get this $7,500 EV tax credit if you were to finance or purchase this car. You can only get this $7,500 EV tax credit if you lease this Kia, and that's what makes this lease deal so special. Now let's talk about the $4,499 that's due at lease signing. This $4,499 actually includes the first month's payment of $329. It includes a $3,520 capitalized cost reduction, which essentially is a down payment in order to lower your monthly payment. And it includes the $650 acquisition fee. And ladies and gentlemen, every manufacturer has an acquisition fee, whether you're doing a Jeep, a Honda, or Toyota, a Mercedes-Benz, a BMW. They usually range from between $500 to $1,000, and in the case of Hyundai Kia, it's $650, which will need to be paid at the start of your lease. Now, this lease does have a purchase option at lease end. As you can see, the residual value is $31,759. That means that at the end of this lease term, at the end of 36 months, you can buy this lease for $31,759. Now, just because you have the option to buy this car for $31,759 doesn't mean that you have to or that you should. You really, at the end of your lease, want to see if you have positive equity or not. And if you have positive equity, only then would I consider buying this car or maybe trading it in and taking that positive equity and maybe rolling it into your next lease. Or you could even sell it back to a Kia dealership in your area for a profit. So if the value of this car is below $31,759, you can just return this car, and that's the beauty of leasing. But if the value is more, then you have options that you can exercise to put some cash back in your pocket. And moving forward, this lease allows for 10,000 miles a year. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want a 12,000 mile a year lease or a 15,000 mile a year lease, you can get it. It will increase the monthly payment, but I can assure you that it will be cheaper than paying this 20 cents per mile if you were to go over 10,000 miles a year. So in total, you have 30,000 miles to drive this car. And if you go over 30,000 miles over that 3-year term, you're going to pay 20 cents per mile for each additional mile that you drive over. Now, if you know you're going to drive, 40,000 miles or 45,000 miles over a 3-year term, then it's probably better to just get a 15,000 mile a year lease or maybe a 12,000 mile a year lease. It will be cheaper doing it that way than paying the 20 cents per mile excess mileage penalty. All right, with that being said, let's bust out the handy dandy calculator and let's run the 1.25% rule of car leasing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier in this video, the 1.25% rule of car leasing is just a value metric that I use to determine whether or not you're getting a good deal on this lease, or whether or not you should just buy the car instead of leasing it. So in general, if your monthly payment with $0 down is less than 1.5% of the MSRP, I would consider leasing that car. It's not like a no-brainer. I would consider leasing that car. If your monthly payment is less than 1.25% of the MSRP, I would definitely lease that car. And if your monthly payment is less than 1% of the MSRP, which, spoiler alert, the 2024 EV6 is, it's a no-brainer to lease this car instead of financing this car. It's just not going to be apples to apples, and leasing this car will just give you, it's just going to be a much better value. Now, in order to run the 1.25% rule of leasing, I'll take the $4,499 that's due at signing. I'll divide it by 36 since this is a 36-month lease. And then what I'll do is I'll add the monthly payment of $329 to this amount, and I get a number of $453. So my monthly payment with $0 down will be $453.97. Now that's not accounting for sales tax. And here in the city of Seattle, where I live, the sales tax is 10%, which is really high. But when I multiply by 1.1 to account for that 10%, I get a monthly payment with $0 down and sales tax included of $499.36 a month. And now what I'm gonna do is divide this monthly payment by this car's MSRP, which is listed down below. It is $51,225. And now I'm gonna actually bust out the calculator again, and I'll divide this by $51,225, and then I'll multiply this by 100 to make it easier to read. And when I do that, I get 0.974%. So ladies and gentlemen, this Kia EV6 is a 0.97% lease, meaning that the monthly payment with $0 down, including taxes, is only 0.97% of the MSRP. And this is actually a pretty conservative estimate because it includes the $650 acquisition fee and the $329 monthly payment. So we're adding a monthly payment into this amount. So, if we didn't include that, it would probably be lower, maybe at 0.94 or 0.93. But still, I wanted to take a conservative estimate, and even with that conservative estimate, it's a sub 1% lease deal. And on top of the Kia EV6 being a great lease deal, let's not forget that it's fully electric. So your fuel savings are gonna be at least $100 to $150 a month, depending on where you live. And not to mention that electric cars like this also don't need oil changes. So if you're in the market for an electric vehicle, be sure to factor in those fuel savings into your calculations. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna call it a video. Thank you all for watching. Financial knowledge is power. Please like and follow for more.